Democratic candidates Katie Evans and Michelle Siegel are both running against Republican incumbents.
The idea is we're talking about women running for office and how they decided to do so. So who would like to start?
I decided to do so and really had nothing to do with being a woman. When I realized that the current representative was running unopposed, I thought, I don't think that sends the right message. Because that says if nobody's running against him, well, several messages possible. One is that everything is fine and everybody's happy. The other is that nobody really cares who represents them. And the third was, because I'm a Democrat, that Democrats say, why should we? We can't win. The registration is so lopsided against us. And I knew all those things, and I said, I don't care, because I care about these communities and I care about the people in the 85th.
So I was a youth leader at St. Paul's down in Selinsgrove. So part of the program was, on Wednesdays we'd have a youth group meeting, and the one day all of the kids were playing together, and it was all different ages and all different demographics. And it was everybody, all the adults over there, like, everybody was so happy, right? It was just a great thing to see. And then for some reason, I just had this thought in my head at that moment, who's actually going to think about their future? Are we putting out legislation in Harrisburg that is going to help these kids in our community to build a better future? And that's actually when I went home and I had a conversation with my husband and I said, I want to run for office. And he looked at me and he said, well, that's a pretty crazy thing to do. Democrats don't run around here.
It's a big step.
Yeah. And we had a discussion and he said, whatever you want to do, I'll always support you. And that was it. That's what set me in this motion.
You are running a campaign against an incumbent in a heavily GOP district. So why now? Why now?
I guess over the past couple years, I've really watched what was going on in Harrisburg. I've watched the voting, and it just felt like if there was a need for change and actually to shift some of these issues that are going wrong back to the people's issues, it's now. I think we're at a point here that if we don't start passing legislation that's actually going to help people, it's our tax dollars that are going to Harrisburg. That money should work for the public good. That's why we pay taxes into our community. We pay a property tax because we know that money is going to educate children, because we know that is the most important thing, that our kids have a quality education. But what's going on in Harrisburg is they're shifting that money around. It's not going where it's supposed to. And that's unacceptable to me. And that's why people are so angry at government, right?
I think that I also was hearing a lot of less than happiness with Roe's representation. And I wasn't just hearing it from Democrats, I was hearing it from Republicans. And so I thought, all right, maybe people will realize that there is a more moderate voice, somebody who actually listens to everybody, not just a particular interest group. I taught in Selinsgrove for 17 years. I've taught probably over 2,000 young people at one time. And I've lived in Lewisburg for, probably the last 20-some years. And I've been involved in all sorts of things. And so I just felt that I have a feel for both counties, and I really think that Harrisburg is totally dysfunctional at this point. And if one side proposes something, the other side opposes it just almost automatically. And that's not the way government runs, or should run.
What are you hearing from your constituents, both male and female?
What I'm hearing from my constituents, and as I said, both Republicans and Democrats and independents, the men are, I guess, maybe quieter in some ways. It's just, we really support you, do it. The women say, things like, "You make me very proud." And so I think they're looking more at my gender, perhaps, than the men do. And they're seeing me as somebody who is a fighter, somebody who is not strident and screaming and crazy, but somebody who listens, somebody who understands.
What are you
You know-
hearing from from the constituency?
There's so many issues that in my short 39 years that I've heard rural people on both sides complain about. It doesn't matter what party you are. Lack of health care, affordable and accessible health care. We had Sunbury Hospital closed down. That's hard on rural people, right? Because we have to drive everywhere. It's not like we can just go a couple blocks like in a city and go to the next facility. Closing a hospital in rural adds at the minimum 20 minutes to get to the next place. And this is unacceptable to me. I think that it's time that the issues affecting rural, lack of broadband, that's something rural people have been complaining about for a very long time. And COVID kind of highlighted that. And now other places are like, well, we have broadband issues. Well, welcome to rural. We've always had broadband issues, okay? No, we don't have public transportation. So even getting to a hospital facility, if you don't own a car, you're gonna have a friend. We don't have public transportation here. We don't have a busing system. We used to have, trains way back in the day that took people around. Why can't we get that back? Public education investment. We're ranked 46th nationally in what we invest in publication at the state level.
Are you getting any help from the party?
Not as much as I'd like, but we are starting to we have resources both online and via Zoom. And recently they did assign somebody to this area to help out with campaigns. So I would have to say that like the rest of the state, I think the party looks at this area of Pennsylvania and says, why should we invest time and money when the odds against us are so terrible? And so I think both Michelle and I have voiced that to the party at some point in some way. And that may be why we did get somebody to come in and help. But
Michelle,
yeah.
your thoughts on this?
So, it's. I told people that I would always tell people the truth when I was doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest here. When you're running as a rural Democrat, most people write you off. They just look at the numbers and they file off rural people as there's a high registration there, there's no hope. I'm an optimist. I believe people value people over party in rural, and I think most average people do.